Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Thank you all for being here this morning. I'll just jump right in. I am so excited to welcome one of our co-founders, Laura Karpman and NORA KROLL-ROSENBAUM for just, oh my God, just for being here. I am just excited. And I just want to jump right in because I have a lot of questions.
Oh
And
my
Well,
God.
we're excited. Wait, but we're excited that you're
President,
running the place now.
co-president.
Yeah, with Ronit. It's
Yeah.
great news. And let's toast to taking it to the next level.
I'm
yes.
toasting.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Cheers.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much. That's part of what I want to talk about. I mean, just for everyone here, I want you all to know that Laura is the kind of person that you can't be around without getting a fire inside of you because she's gonna light you up and make sure that you fight. And
Yeah.
so when we first met, it was kind of infectious just like how you take how you make change just with your mind. You're like, oh, I want to do this and I'm going to do this and I've done this and let's do this now. And
Yes.
so that's kind of like it really well, I was raised by a woman who I every Thursday, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, we went to serve on Thanksgiving morning
Oh,
and Christmas morning. And
good for
when
you.
everyone was opening Christmas gifts, I was serving the community. So it was in my blood. And
Yeah, yeah.
and also, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and East Oakland, California. So I'm kind of have this Southern Belle radical spirit. And but
Yeah,
you,
that's kind of a kind of
I love it.
a potent convert a combination, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
yes.
Never
And
thought of
then,
it that
Yeah.
way.
Very powerful.
That's awesome.
but then when you were governor at the academy, I mean, you just it was there was no question. It was like, okay, you need to do this and you need to do that, and I didn't think about it. And the next thing you know, I'm there, and next now I'm here.
Yeah, you
I
are.
just want to
Good.
thank you for that. I want to thank you so much for that.
No, Tara, you
Tara,
deserve it.
you're amazing,
Yeah.
Tara.
And what a
You,
talent you are. What a massive talent you are.
oh, thank you and thank you. I'm not gonna cry, so don't you even try it.
Oh, no, I can get there. We have an hour. We'll
Yeah.
get there. We're just getting going.
Okay, so I just want to jump right in. This is
Okay.
called this segment is I named it Shaking Trees and Building Community because I feel like you both do that so well. I mean, like the best. Laura, this conversation is called Shaking Trees and Building Community, and throughout your career, you've often pushed for change while helping create spaces for others. You like literally shake trees for change. Like I really should have called it that, but shaking trees for change, like it's like, and you actually implement change. Was there a moment when you realized your impact would extend beyond composing? Did you know that like in college?
No, no, in fact, it's really it's actually kind of interesting that I've been working on this. I wrote an opera about Billie Jean King, and then I just scored this documentary about her.
Yes.
And along with Nora, God, she did a lot of it.
It was
Um,
phenomenal, by the way. Yeah, I
It's
saw.
very, very good, and it's going to be out there soon. Everybody should see it because it's very, very seminal and very, very important to the way that I thought about advocacy. And I mean, the truth is that when I was younger, I was always the only woman in a room, the only woman composer, and I believed that just existing was advocacy. And
Mhm.
then I began to see that that wasn't enough. And fundamentally, it was really meeting Nora, and she's 20 years my junior, and I saw that there was probably less opportunity for her than there was even for me. And then when Trump got elected the first time, it was kind of like, what can we do to change things?
Right.
But I think the AWFC really came out of a number of events that happened really right while we were when we met, when I
Yeah,
worked
I
on Black
remember.
Nativity. It was that summer,
Yeah.
and then that fall, and it was just that it had gotten to a point where people now were talking out loud about the sexism. We weren't doing it. Nobody did it before that.
Right.
And so I think it got to the point where Dorian Ringer Ross had put together a lunch of a bunch of women across all the PROs, and we all started talking to each other. And I think that what happens is when there's scarcity in a community, there's distrust and suspicion. So we
Oh,
would go to all those BMI awards, and I would see Lolita, who's now one of my best friends, across the room, and is like, "Oh God, what's she doing?" It's like if you think there's only room for you, then you're competitive for that and for that space. And I think that that lunch was important for us to see that we could actually connect and were interested in each other's work and what everybody was doing. And it was fun. I mean, beyond just kind of letting go of the crap that goes along with that scarcity mindset that comes from, the patriarchy, really.
mhm.
So I think that that was kind of the beginning of it. And then when I got elected governor, um, I mean, the AWFC was incredible, and in those early years we did some really important things like the directory, which sounds like, oh, that's obvious. Well, I mean, it wasn't, because people said there were no women composers.
Right.
And so I had to beg and cajole, and we opened it up with 30 people in that directory, which was really, really significant. And then Connor, how many do we have now?
Thousands.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
we started with 30 that night. I remember in August, that summer, when we were living at Manhattan Beach, and the 30 was radical. And then John Burlingame, who's always been a really, really open friend, he wrote
Yeah.
about it. And then the things started rolling. We put on the
I think
concert.
that was an interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
He was written like that. Kind of journalism is actually really seminal
Yes.
to getting stuff going. But at any rate, when I got to the academy, when I got elected to the academy, which I never would have gotten elected had I not been president of the AWFC, and if people hadn't known me in that way, and then if I hadn't also, gone into that boardroom and advocated for a lot. When I was admitted to the academy in 2015. I was the third woman composer in the Academy, and the last one was Rachel Portman, who was admitted when she won an Oscar in 1996. So
Wow.
it sucked. And I went in there and advocated for a lot of people, you included.
Yes.
And I used the tools that the Academy had to really push for that. So what was great about it is that when you have an institution like the Academy behind you, and even the AWFC now, it's so much bigger. Then it was just like me and Nora and Chandler, and it's just like we were just like doing shit. But now it's a robust organization. It's a different story. So, but back to the Billie Jean King thing. She wanted to make social change, but she knew the best way for her to do it was through tennis, which seems like an odd choice, right? But it's just like making social change through film composing.
Right.
You can
Mhm.
actually make a difference in your own backyard, I think, way more effectively than you can with kind of larger things. It's much easier to go in there and say, okay, how can we do something significant for these, at that point, 30 people, and then 50 people, and 500 people, and then 1,000 people? That's a
Yeah.
very long answer to your question.
No, I love it. Thank you. I mean, I do want to, I mean, I just want to thank you again because what you did advocate for me personally, and I felt compelled to hit the ground running because I wanted to mirror that. I wanted to. You say there's three women composers, then also where were the Black women composers, and and so
Well, it was the only woman that had ever served on the executive committee. Only woman at that point was Saida Garrett.
wow.
And when I walked in that room, she was there, and Rashid Khaman was there, and they were the
Yeah.
only two Black people in the room.
Yeah.
And it was like they kind of squeezed me in and they looked at me and it was like, oh my God, thank you for coming in. And so it wasn't just me, it was, Saida and Common and Michael Giacchino also was a governor at that
Okay.
point who was
Mhm.
also like open to this, and I have never, ever, ever once advocated for anybody that wasn't wildly talented like you.
Oh.
What I advocated for was for people to understand that we did not have the same playing field.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what the boardroom at the Academy didn't understand. That we
Hmm.
can't compete against Michael Giacchino, with a Pixar film opening up in, 3,500 theaters across the country.
Yeah.
But, if we work on a film like Black Nativity,
Hmm.
even if it placed in the top 10, which it did over that box office weekend, that's effing great.
Yes.
That's really, really big and a big opportunity. So it took me really having to show them that our sandbox was really different and our playing field was really different. So the top of our playing field was Jermaine, was Catherine Bostic,
Yeah.
Lolita. I mean, all these people now, Jermaine, who now has an Oscar nomination. So
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah. And
it's
me.
like, but
Hmm.
that, and
And
you,
Tara,
of course,
yes.
but that took, explaining. And I think that was where I think I did well. Um,
Yeah. You use your
be-
voice
I
for
used
us.
my voice, but I was also willing to drop a kind of a pretension.
Hmm.
Like I didn't try to pretend like I was one of them or like I had had the same opportunities. Um, and that was hard. And it took me a lot of years to get to that point because, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to diminish myself. And I didn't feel like I've always believed that I was a good composer and I always believed that I was a talented composer. And after, about 15 years in the business, I started to realize that other people were excelling or accelerating in their careers in ways that were unavailable to me. And I stopped blaming myself. So when I stopped blaming myself, I think I was able to really start to see the picture for the way that it was, and then to go in a room full of people with the confidence of saying, hey, I can write as well as anybody, but these are
Hmm.
the opportunities I have. They're not the same as the opportunities that you have.
Right. Yeah. Nora, I have to talk about because I know that your advocacy started young. While you were at Juilliard, you co-founded Vision into Art to
Wow,
create.
Tara.
Wow, Tara.
Deep diving. Yes, I did.
Yeah, I think that's amazing to create more disciplinary spaces for artists long before community building became such a central conversation in our industry. You were already creating it. And I think I'm
Right.
sure that's what drew you two together. I'm
Many,
sure that
No,
was the magnet.
it was physical
it
attraction,
was definitely
honestly. It
physical.
was like
And
that
now,
had
Okay.
nothing to do with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Inside
Yeah.
Sessions
Yeah.
X-rated,
Inside
the
session.
X-rated AWFC.
Yeah. No, she was just super cute.
No, I mean, listen, I think that, um, you know, Laura and I both went to Juilliard. We both studied with the same teacher, Juilliard, not at the same time. Uh,
Hmm.
but the opportunities weren't there. And the opportunity, I like my, and you guys know, all of you on this thing, the story. It's like I was watching my peers I was in
Same
school
thing.
with
Yeah.
just getting commissioned, and I was working my ass off, but, I was just watching it all happen. And at that time, half of the faculty wouldn't teach women composers. So, you had all kinds of issues going on there. Um, and it was a terrific education, but probably the greatest thing that happened to me uh, while I was at Juilliard was meeting Paolo Prestini, who was this Italian composer who also had an equal situation that I did in terms of watching her peers and also feeling like really sparked by theater, dance, spoken word poetry, and film. And so while I was an undergraduate there, we started this organization, Vision into Art. And it was funny because mainly we commissioned other composers, we commissioned other artists, but it was kind of like reverse film music where we would commission filmmakers to make films to music. We'd write new pieces and then commission film out of it. So it was like upside down film scoring in a lot of ways. But
It's right side up film scoring.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
But we worked really hard and created tons of opportunities and commissioned people. And that was a really amazing experience to be like a young composer and at the same time applying for grants, raising money, going on tour, figuring out how we can do this and how it can be sustainable. And in terms of, what Laura's talking about, like it's been a huge privilege for me to be a part of, all the data gathering, all the building of lists of people, all the finding of international.
Yeah, I mean, Nora's uncredited in all of this.
No, it's not.
But I mean inappropriately so, honestly.
Yeah.
She everything that I did in those early days of the AWFC and at the Academy was in conjunction with her, and we would sit and work the shit out.
I think a lot of it's funny because it's like now we have it's complicated, right? Because you have the AWFC with thousands of people in it now. And yet at the same time, in terms of what's being made and the opportunities, like if we keep going at the rate that we're going, like our great, 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 great grandchildren may see like 25%. I mean, it's just like the incrementalism is hideous, right? It's hideous and it's not meaningful enough. And so it's tricky because it's like there was this like radical grassrootsiness that I think, and Tara, you were at the beginning, we're talking about like, the power of these places that you've come from and the communities and the strength of that. And I think Vision into Art, in terms of my background, was incredibly grassroots. It was literally like, I was like, doing everything from lighting to moving pianos to raising money to writing music. And that was so amazing. And the beginning of the AWFC was so amazing because it was so tiny and it was so like, how can we do this? Oh, well, let's make a list. Okay. Like, who do you know what I mean? It was so grassroots.
I remember the list and I
totally.
Like, you both just roll your sleeves up and you lead by doing. You lead by doing. It's not just like, oh, I'd love to do this. It's just like, oh, I want to do this. And the next thing you know, like you're standing in it. And how does that feel like when you look around and you like, for me personally, like coming to your house early on, having like not really no family here in LA, and you all becoming my community.
And my sister.
And my family. And yes, I love you. But how does that feel like when you look around and it's not just me, it's just people who, even people that you are just working with, who you've opened your doors to. Do you know how powerful that is and how life-changing that is for the community that you've built?
When I got an Oscar nomination, which was so never, ever in my life did I think that would happen to me. And I went to the SCL event, which I dreaded, mostly because the SCL has been really a difficult place to make any kind of change at. And with the Alliance in the early days, there was a lot of resistance from them, and I should drop it, but it's hard for me to. And I went, but I went, and then we did a photo and I broke down. I cried twice in that whole time. Once when I got it, and that the second time was at that moment on that SCL reception the day before the Oscars. I knew my body that I wasn't going to win. I mean, it was obvious that Ludwig was going to win, and there's no way to compete against that. There's no way. But Jesus, I never thought that I would get that far. Are you kidding me? And with the
Wow.
little film like that, and then there with that community standing there supporting me, and we were all there. There must have been what, 30 women in that picture or something. I mean, that was nuts. I
Mhm.
felt it at that moment. I barely could keep my stuff together when I gave my little very quick speech when I thought I was going to have a heart attack. So that was that I do feel it on occasion. I feel frustrated too. I want us to figure out how to get out of the log jam that we're in,
Yeah.
which we are.
It's the incrementalism.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think in terms of like letting people in, I mean, we certainly have let as many composers and musicians into our space, our home, our studio
As
as we
possible. Yeah.
possibly can.
Yeah.
Yes, you
And it's and so many beautiful people who have just blessed us. And I hope that we bless them in some way, in some
Oh, you
capacity.
have.
But
Yeah.
I do think though, like to what you're saying, it's like it's because of the nature of where we're at with social change, uh the leadership, the quote unquote leadership in this country is so completely corrupt and hideous.
Yeah.
And the profound sexism and racism that
Yeah.
is at everyone's door, you
Hmm.
know, it's we have to celebrate our spaces and, you know, win, not win, Oscar nomination, win, you know, whatever. It's like the sandbox that we're in is flourishing in many ways, and we have to stay in that space and stay together. And anyway, that's
Yeah.
my speech. I'll stop.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we do.
Speaking, giving speeches.
And obviously we're in a shift, like, in this industry and this, I mean, just generally, like as a creative, as creatives, how do you move within the shift? How do you stay inspired? And how can you inspire us?
It's hard right now. I mean, very few people look, you've had a combination of a number of things that have made this a difficult time, right? You had the strikes.
Yeah.
You had during the pandemic had, I mean, first Me Too and then the George Floyd murder, people had suddenly had a consciousness about racism and gave a shit for, the first time in American history for 5 minutes. And but there was so much content being produced, right? That
But we had
it
the
was,
streaming
yeah, the
explosion.
streaming explosion that
And all of a sudden people could hire like
women and black people.
underrepresented
Yeah.
communities without because there was so much content.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
So it wasn't even like that hard for them to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, let's get that person. And there was but there was also an expansion of the kind of thing that was being made. So there were female superheroes. There was black content. There were all these things where it felt natural to hire a person who represented that in whatever way. I still don't really understand why white guys get to do everything, but nonetheless, I say with as little bitterness as I can muster up, that expanded things, and it certainly expanded things for me. I didn't expect it. I thought when I did this work,
no, you came to terms with it.
I came to terms with
with
that. I
the
thought I'm doing
alliance.
this for the next generation, whatever. But anyway, it all came back and benefited me,
Yeah.
which was incredible. And I found myself on projects and in rooms where I had never been before. And I think a lot of people did. Like if you look at Jermaine, if you look at Natalie Holt, Amy Dougherty, Steph
Tons of
Economou,
people.
you see that there was an expansion and people got credits, but with now then the compression of streaming plus the the strikes, I think, and that's a whole nother conversation, like that and how badly that impacted us and how certain groups in Hollywood were able to benefit and other groups were very much left behind.
Now
Um,
DEI is like pretty much illegal. So, um,
yeah, Yeah, no, I know. And so now you've seen an extreme contraction of everything,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people are not working. We've had a really good span of it, but we don't have anything for a number of months, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first time really in a long time that I've even found, myself in that position. Um, which is fine. We're really okay, but it's a lot of people are not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, but there is stuff and there are ways, I think, to be entrepreneurial. And
Yes.
you're so great at that. You're so great at finding those corners. But what was it? I was just driving Benny to school today. Oh yeah, and there are like all these jazz singers that come up on my feed that I
Mm-hmm.
would have never heard of. Like wildly talented people. And I think there are ways with podcasts, with TikTok, with
Oh yeah.
social media
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
we can create content and do different things. And for me right now, I shot a film as a director, which I'm just finishing up about the lost instruments of the Palisades and Altadena fires. And that has been a really like crazy experience for me to be on the other side of it and have a different kind of perspective. It's actually was a really good experience. I wish I'd done it like 20 years ago, and I encourage you all
Mm-hmm.
to think of yourself as filmmakers
Yes.
and
Mhm.
and get out there and make something and learn editing software and try different things because it'll also help you as a film composer. I mean, I think
We're all
It's fabulous. Yeah.
storytellers. We're
yeah,
We're
storytellers.
all
we're all
storytellers. Exactly.
Yeah.
storytellers.
That's it.
And I'm interested in looking at other things now. And Nora and I talk all the
We have
time.
a million projects
How
that are on our list and that we're working on and that are on our back
Yes.
burner and totally. And it's like I think that
how can we be
the
entrepreneurial?
plurality,
Yeah.
yeah, but also just the plurality of like identity. Like if we are all storytellers and we lean into that,
Hmm.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
And like I also think that musicians are a very strange and wonderful bunch of human beings. Our sensitivity to how things sound and how timing works, and there are all these ways in which if we lead with our like ears and hearts in a way, like I think that that is a really interesting point of view that we can bring to these other spaces. And like it's entrepreneurial, but it's also I think like there's a way in which there's room for it right now. So it's really like obviously like the world has never been so expensive, and that's very disheartening.
Yeah.
But this gatekeeping of like who's gets to work and on what and all of that is like we have to break that down. We have to make content and we have to hire each other to do things and help each other. And we also have to get good at doing more than just our niche.
Yeah.
We have to jump. Um,
Jump.
jumping is something, that we have in common with our song Jump, but um I have been finding myself writing more just screenwriting,
Yeah.
and just like I've had Final Draft since Final Draft 1. So having, actually putting it to work has been really exciting and fun. And then also visualizing what the songs sound like, what the score
That's
sounds like. And
that's
yeah, and I think making sure that you like get out there and just push yourself to try new things is so important right now. So thank you for
I think
saying.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I want to talk, I mean, because I think like for me, Laura, I will say that you opened a creative door for me. Like I've always written in pop and R&B music, and then when you and Raphael and I and Nora worked on Black Nativity, I just like opened my mind up to the possibilities of a whole new world. Even though I had done, some film stuff before, had my feet dirty, they were in the
yeah.
sand
Yep.
working, and also even end up getting an associate producer credit because that's how involved I was.
Mhm.
Is there someone for both of you, I'd like you both to answer, that opened that creative door for you, or even a door of advocacy, or just someone? I had this thing, speaking of podcasts, and it's called Her Verses. And it's where we just want you to come on. It's really called something else, but I don't want to offend. But
What's it called?
it's called Vagina Verses.
Perfect.
Why is that offensive?
I don't know because it's like if you're sitting on one, then we what you're not here to talk about yours. You're here to talk about another woman, and just
Mhm.
that's how we start. It's almost like pass the song, but
Mm.
passing verses on women and like how we can keep our stories alive because it's kind of like we're going through a moment of erasure with AI and being able storytelling is becoming something completely different. But with that, I really want to know about the women who have inspired you both.
Cool. Okay, I'll jump in there.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in two people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
One, Karen Tarlow. I had one composition lesson with her when I was in like 13 or something, and I had no idea that women could even be a composer. I never met, I was the first human woman compose. I didn't know women could be composers, and I met one, and she was a person. And she would always tell me not to reinvent the wheel. That's how, and she was the very first composition teacher I ever had, but it was also the idea that like that was actually it was the first time, like you were talking Billie Jean King. It's like she always says, if you see it, you can be it or you can become it. It's
Mhm.
like the physical act of meeting a woman composer completely shook me up.
Mhm.
Um, and so I will say that Karen Tarlow, when I was 13 years old, like that was radical for me. And uh person number one. Person number two, I would say, is my mother, who's a
Yeah.
total badass.
Her mom
Yes,
is a big
yes.
influence for both
And
of us.
yeah, like my mom
Mm-hmm.
is she's a scientist
Yeah.
and she studies language and she studies like how people switch between languages when they're bilinguals. And she uses it as a metaphor to study the brain.
Oh,
But
wow.
she really divides her time between her research, her teaching, but also advocacy and opening up cognitive science and
Yeah.
science for women and girls.
Yeah.
And she's like completely changed the whole field. And they just celebrated the 25th anniversary of Women in Cognitive Science, which is, I guess, our parallel to the AWFC
Yeah.
in many ways.
That's
Yes.
And
amazing. I didn't know that
Yeah.
about your mom. I
yeah,
know
and it's
she's
Yeah.
like
a scientist, but I didn't know
thousands
that she. Wow.
thousands of women all over the world, and they've gone into science because of her, and they've found a pathway of supporting each other
Yeah.
because of her. And she's just like totally fearless, and she works her tail off. Like she wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day and works until about 9 o'clock at night every day. And
Oh,
she is fearless and bold and brave. And so I'd say that she's been, a hugely beautiful influence for me, just in terms of, but like this belief that you can change things, and very much to the like what Laura was saying too, like this thing of changing something in your own
Yeah.
backyard,
Yeah.
no matter whether it's tennis, composing, cognitive science, whatever it is, fix your backyard first,
Yeah.
and
oh,
then that's how
wow.
we change the world. So
Your
Yeah, I was
backyard.
going to mention Nora's mom because she was really, really important to help us really formulate how we could do this. And
Mm-hmm.
very much, I mean, she gave me reading. Like, there's this really important book at Tara, and if you haven't read it, you should. It's by Virginia Valen, and it's called Why So Slow? And
Mm-hmm.
it's really about why is this taking so fucking long to
yeah.
fix. And so I think that she was really helpful in terms of thinking about this, being a great sounding board for me.
Yep.
And
And taking apart to that thing of saying like we're competing against each other,
yeah,
but at the same time we need that competition and we need to be friends at the same
that's
time.
right. That's
And so taking that feeling apart,
yeah,
especially when you do have scarcity, when there are only so many projects where they're even willing to entertain the idea of hiring a woman composer,
right.
and taking those feelings apart too is prevalent in all of these
Yeah.
fields.
Yeah. But no, it's the same. And my answer, I would only add to that. When I was growing up, I was such an idiot. I really like I didn't like I bumbled through life. My mother wanted me to be a composer, so she was a huge
Oh,
influence.
wow. Mm-hmm.
I had a female composition teacher when I was in high school for a summer at UCLA, and then I went when I was an undergraduate, I went to France to study with Nadia Boulanger, who was a very, very important teacher of composers in the 20th century. And she, at that point, was in her 90s and not at all really interested in me. But there was a woman next door named Louise Talma, who was an excellent composer and took me out and started training me in really hardcore musical stuff, counterpoint and ear training. And when I say I bumbled through life, I didn't realize how important these people were to me. And now that I look back at my life, I realize that meeting both of them were seminal points in my life as a composer.
That's beautiful. I mean, I've never, I'm still thinking about your mom because I've been around her so many times and just I know that she's a scientist, but to know like this fire that you both have in you comes from a place like Laura, your mom wanted you to be a composer. I never knew that. Like I need to
Yeah.
interview all of my sisters and friends.
Taura, what about you? What about for you, Taura?
Um, I mean, it was, I'll say, I mean, for me as a songwriter at 8 years old, it was definitely my mom. You know,
Yeah.
she took she said, "Oh my God, this girl has a wild imagination and we
Mhm.
need to harness it somehow." She bought me a composition notebook and I started to write all these, poems. And then it was my uncle who said, these are songs. But my mom really, she saw in me early on that she was like a child. She was a hairstylist. So when her friends would come over or her clients would come over, they read my composition notebook with coffee, like, "Ah, I can't believe you wrote that."
That's nice.
You had an
So
audience
Awesome.
right away.
I had an audience. It was like my own little newspaper, and so I was really inspired. And you don't really know that until you look back and you say, "Oh wow!" Like I was
Right.
Yeah.
definitely being cultivated. I was being poured into without even knowing it.
Right. You were being nourished right from the start. And
Yes, yes.
they probably grew to expect a new poem
Oh
or a new
yeah.
song whenever they came
Or
over.
a
Yeah.
funny thought, or my
Yeah.
rant about Michael Jackson, and then later on, those became articles in my school newspaper, and
Oh,
Oh, wow.
which was my high school newspaper was basically just hate mail to George Bush, and
That would
and
make a
so
great
and
song.
then and that all carried through. Raphael saw that when I was in 10th grade, and he was like, "Man, you have like a really radical approach to writing. Have you ever thought about writing songs?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've been writing songs since I was 8."
yeah.
Yep.
And that fast forward to his album Instant Vintage, he had me write the political piece for his album People. And for his album Instant Vintage, I wrote the song People, which was I didn't know. I mean, I guess he had, and everyone had to get to know me that I was more so there was so much more that I didn't want to fight anymore. I wanted to write songs rooted in love and
Yeah, yeah,
rooted in
yeah.
change in a different way. I want to shift into what you both have up for the Emmys, but before I do that, because I really want to talk about. I think that's a part of what my goal is here is to amplify. Like whenever we have something that we can talk about and celebrate, let's talk about it. Let's throw it out there so that people know, because so many people just don't know. And then you're looking up, and change isn't being made. But before we shift to that, Laura, I want to know what, like, as the new co-president of the AWFC, and Nora, as someone who started this with her, how can we expand and improve on your original vision or carry it forward? What this is a question from Ronit and I.
It's hard right now. It's harder than it was when I started because when we started, there was nothing there. So it's easier to build from absolute scratch than to kind of build mid range. I think there are a couple of things that we can do right away.
Hmm.
And that is we must vote for each other for these awards. And somehow you asked what we both have up. I don't
Hmm.
even want to talk about what I have up. Nora's got big mistakes up. Nora has an actual chance
Yes, she
at
does.
getting a nomination. Why is that?
with
It's not
Peaches.
because the music is great with Peaches. Yes, of course, and she's great too.
Mhm.
But because she has the support of the network of Netflix. They're really behind the campaign.
Yes,
So
and it's a great
and I know
show. Yeah, sorry.
great show and all of that. I know Thomas has talked to everybody about all of this, but I think what you see is that that you see these kind of waves almost, and it's not that things can't happen,
Mhm.
in a vacuum. Like Nick Pike got that nomination for Costa Verde,
Beautiful. Hmm.
beautiful song and everything, but out of left field, right?
Hmm.
He didn't. That was an inspiring campaign that he did, but I
The
think
infrastructure that you need to make a campaign happen, to make voting, to get that visibility and to
Hmm.
rally people behind things
yeah.
it's real.
It's real. And so I think that in some secret way, we
Hmm.
have to look at the 5 people every year who have got some lightning happening with whatever their shows are. And we have to say, okay, there's a lot of good work out there, and everybody needs to be counted and considered. And I encourage everybody to always put themselves up if they have a
Yeah.
project that qualifies. But I do think it's also important to pick our battles. And I think we need to start to see more nominations, and we've got to see some wins.
Yes, we
Because I
do.
think what's happening is that a lot of we're seeing way more women get nominated for these major awards, and very few women are winning them still.
Yeah.
So I think we need
We
to
need to do all that. I
we
think
need
there,
to curate that a little bit.
we talk a lot about being counted and
Yeah.
how important it is to, if you've done a show that is eligible, how important it is to be counted, how important that visibility is, because for years and years we would look at the list everywhere to say, okay, are there any women that are even on this list of Oscar eligible films or Emmy eligible, whatever? Now it's incredible. It's a robust list.
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think there are two issues. It's important to be counted. It's important to enter. It's important that AWFC joins in celebrating everybody who's on the list. Because if
Yeah.
you are eligible and you've gotten yourself that far, that's amazing.
I
Okay.
mean,
And
yeah.
then there's this piece, and we need to separate these things out. Many organizations have awards. We've talked about that.
That's what I was just gonna say.
The AWFC
needs an award. I
and
don't
we've
care
Working on it. We're
if
working
we
on it.
have it in my backyard. Okay.
We sketched it out years ago, right? And I mean, we had these
We
cool awards
have to
too. And
do
we
it.
even remember we at the years and years ago, we sketched out the AWFC awards. And a lot of it was also not just about celebrating members of the AWFC, but it was about celebrating members of the community who are supporting and making change.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
really elevating those people and giving them an award. And so I think that we need to kind of unpack this issue. It's about
Yeah.
celebrating those people who have scores that are eligible. It's
Mhm.
giving them some kind of award. By giving somebody an award from the AWC, it elevates them into the conversation. Whether or not they have the infrastructure behind them, all of a sudden, other people start going,
Look
oh,
at the SCL awards.
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Like literally, that award has become an Oscar precursor, which I don't know if it really is, but the studios are supporting it. They're supporting
Yeah. Hmm.
advertising for it. They're supporting the SCL, online things. It's a great moneymaker for the AWFC. It won't be at first,
Yeah.
but
Right.
it will be after a couple of years. And I think we absolutely have to do it. And like I said, we can do it at the tennis club.
There are a
We
million
can do
places
it
we can
here.
do it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be super grassroots our first year.
Yeah.
And we absolutely have to do it and come up with a list of categories, and also a collaboration award, and
It's a way of
do it.
envisioning what you want awards to be
Yep.
and
Oh, yeah.
really
And
actualizing
our
that.
thing is like that was the first time when Ronit and I sat down. That was one of the first things I brought up to
Good,
her.
good, great,
AWS
good.
Moms. And just building our own table instead of begging to sit at the other
Exactly. That's
tables.
right. Right.
And that is just like something definitely that I've picked up along the way from the women that really affect change. It's like they're not asking and begging to be at the other table; they're building their own table. So
Yeah.
that will happen this year. We're
Good.
Great.
actively working on that, as well as things like our own roundtable, like
Right.
just
Good.
to put women in spaces and where we are not just the one,
That's
That's right.
all
That's
of
right.
us, you know.
That's
So yeah,
right.
And
I'm
not
so
just getting that one question at that the table of being like, how is it being a woman composer? It's
right.
right. I mean, but where
Yeah,
you actually are at a round table where you're talking about the content of your work. I love
yeah,
that. That's great.
There
yes.
was this, I looked at this thing yesterday and like I'm really dishing it out today and I probably shouldn't. But so that there was an orchestra concert of film music at the Wallace, which is a performing arts space in
Hmm.
Beverly Hills. And it's a
Hmm.
guy named Scott Dunn. I'd never heard of him, Scott Dunn Orchestra. He does film music. I thought, oh,
Hmm.
that's interesting. I looked
Hmm.
at his programs. He has all these kind of curated programs for how to present film music. One of
Hmm.
them included the English voice, included Rachel Portman. And then he had a separate program for women composers. So
Hmm.
instead of including them in his normal programming, once again, we were relegated and sidelined to some otherness. And
Yeah.
it's like, we have to
Sure, that
do
will
it
sell a
ourselves.
lot of tickets.
Yeah, no one's gonna go whatever. Anyway, but
We have
but
to
I
do it
I
ourselves
think that's good.
and we have to make tons of noise about it. And we need to do
Yeah,
a better job of like curating together, knowing
yeah,
that, you know what I
absolutely.
mean? Yeah, exactly.
And,
I
and
think
working with other organizations,
Yeah.
we have conversations almost every day with WIF and Alliance of Women Film Directors and and just other women-led and based organizations that we are talking to. And of course, I'm just like, and when we have we have to talk about that. I
yeah.
would
Good.
both
Great.
of you input on it. But
Yeah, that's great.
before we take questions from our people here, I'd love to just really I want to talk about big mistakes.
Okay.
Um, and I want to tell you that I binged it in one day.
Wow,
It was
amazing.
like,
Epic.
I was just like not feeling, it was like, my throat is a little sore. I'm going to stay in. Then I was like, I think my throat is really sore. I'm just going to got some red
No
wine.
day.
And it was
Amazing.
awesome. It's so great. I mean, I would have watched, it's so good. I would have watched, no matter what, but I
Yeah.
watched, listened. I'm like, oh my God, I can hear you in it. And I'm just so proud of you. And I want to
Thank
know
you,
more
Tara.
about that. And
You got
um,
it.
of course, we're going to, we support you here, but if there's anything else you can share, how can we support?
Thank you so much, Tara. Um, Big Mistakes was a total joy to work on. I worked with Peaches. Peaches and I
Mhm.
had never collaborated before. And Tara, you and I have collaborated. Like, I love collaborating. Like,
Yes,
it's so
true.
much fun. And Peaches and I really come at making music really differently. And that was fabulous. And,
Yes.
we created an open dialogue right from the start saying, we're going to be totally honest with each other. We're going to
Mhm.
like, and just share with stuff. And if we hate it, we're going to say so. And if we love it, we're going to say so. And we just had tons of fun. If you haven't seen Big Mistakes yet, it's a crime comedy. And it's really, I mean, I was on a panel, and like Laura was saying, like Netflix has done this beautiful job of
Yes,
supporting.
they have.
Um,
They're the best.
and like I was on a panel this past on Saturday, and Dan Levy, the showrunner, and he's in the cast too of the show, he was saying how this is also a love letter to families that express themselves through screaming, and how if you come from or know a
Yeah.
family that is able to love each other and also scream at each other,
The
that
mom.
that
Yeah.
right that like
Yeah.
that's an acceptable way of being, and it's also like being seen in that space in a way,
Yeah.
which is really fun, and I think something that I really understand also,
Hmm.
and not that we're here screaming, but
We're not in a screaming
I
family,
come
but
from a screaming
but
family, and
yeah,
so
Hmm.
I certainly understand that.
we
um
silently scream.
Silent scream, more
Yeah.
silent scream. We're- Can we say we're going to do SCL things? Laura and I are both doing SCL online
Oh,
things.
good. We'll be there.
on May 26th, I think, right? Yes, 6 days from now.
Yeah.
And we're both on the same day. Laura's doing Down Cemetery Road for Apple, and I'm doing Big
Yes.
Mistakes, and I'll be on with Peaches. And so on May 26th, we both will have SEL online events. But it's honestly, it's just like a totally fun score, and it's something that was a total joy to work on. So I encourage everyone, if you want like a good laugh too, like there's some unbelievable writing in the show in terms of just like hysterical
Yes.
lines in it too. Yeah.
I would also say for those of you on, it's one of the most creative spotting
Yeah,
things that I've ever seen in a television show. Like it is really disciplined and really interesting how they play the comedy and how they use music and then come out suddenly. And it's like there are no like segues into the next thing. It's like, man, the music's either in or out.
Music's really loud
And it's
too.
very,
Yeah,
very
that's great.
cool to look at for this kind of angular, very disciplined approach to spotting music.
I mean, thank you, Laura. Like the thing in the music too, I think that makes it really unique is you'll have cues that will change functionally, like in terms of what it's scoring. And then, like Laura said, the spotting of the music in terms of how it should function and where it should come in and out, that was probably the hardest part of the entire collaboration.
It's pretty brilliant.
And it
I think sound hard. It just sounds, it's so perfect and
I'm
present.
so glad. But it was like really like, because comedy is so delicate.
Yeah.
Even though it's loud, even though the show's loud in many ways, it's such a delicate creature, right? Because you don't want to step on that timing. You don't want to, and so figuring out
hard.
Comedy's hard. Yeah. And so figuring out how to do that and do that in a like really unique way, I think that was the fun of this collaboration.
Yeah.
You definitely figured it out. If anybody has any questions while we open your mic. Oh, there you go. Would you mind, would you like to speak? Or I can read.
Winning awards most
No,
recently.
I think, hold on, let's get out of.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank
There
you
you
so
are.
much. Sorry, I was in the car, but I was
No worries.
listening, and thank you for such supportive community. I really appreciate throughout the years I've been a member of Alliance of Women Film Composers, and I truly see like how it's shaping and changing the in industry. As we are female, we are supportive of each other, and slowly and gradually, like moving to the industry inside more. So it's more diverse now and more supportive, and people can accept us, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to ask your advice, please, for both, for all three of you, because I really like the music. I listen to your scores, and me and my husband, we co-write songs, and we recently won awards like Lennon Award and wonderful like recognitions of the songs, and it's got sync placement on The Boys, the show, and we are just looking. Thank you so much. So we are just looking for how can we approach the publishers so they will be interested in for us to write songs for artists, for like known artists, so we could get the publisher deal, because it's all like investment on our own, and it's tough when you have your own music, you put all this money, energy, and then it's wonderful to have awards, but then we are looking for something, for longer period deal or something.
Taura, I throw that one to you.
Yeah, Taura.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the power of owning your own publishing. I know it probably feels a bit daunting right now, but it grows. It's almost like a child. I don't have children, so my publishing checks my publishing catalog are my children. I didn't have it for so long. I had to fight to get it back. And I know that there's this thing, everybody wants a publishing deal. And if that's what you want, if that's what you're stuck on, then it's just about getting meetings, and it's just about continuing to write so you can grow your catalog so that people, they'll call you, but you can also seek out who the publishers are and meet with them. But I would recommend growing your publishing catalog, continuing to license songs, because before you know it, you're gonna have you'll have the capital that you're looking for. Even if it's like if you're thinking about writing for artists, you're going to reach out to A&Rs, you're going to reach out to managers, you're going to reach out to agents even. But if you're continuing to ride this wave of that you all just have with like the boys, you might want to reach out, make a list of like music supervisors, reach out to that music supervisor who was the music supervisor for that show, and let them know that you have this disco link and that here's other songs like this that may work for season two. Do you have anything else to add, Laura, Nora?
Not really to
That's
that. I
great.
think that's pretty comprehensive. That's really your
And I
work
was just
more than
thinking,
ours.
how great is it, Tara, that you're in this leadership position and able to speak to this question so beautifully, because so many people in our community are songwriters.
Yeah.
And I just so value this representation for the AWFC. So that's what I was actually just thinking about too. And I think that's brilliant advice. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Perfect.
Thank you. And
Thank you so much.
Say how you pronounce your name, please.
It's Ghana.
Donna, you're welcome to reach out to me, but I'd encourage you just to keep plowing. It will be valuable in the end to hold on.
Thank you. I really appreciate your advice.
Anybody else? We're just about out of time anyway, so
Well,
but
there
if
you go.
anyone has a statement or a question, we take it. But and just turn your mic on or throw your hand up. But I just want to thank you both.
Thank you.
And also want to give you the floor, Laura, because I know you said, well, we want to focus on Nora and her show for Emmy consideration, but I'd like to know what you have up as well.
Yeah, the show that I put up this year is Down Cemetery Road. It's an Apple show. It's in the same world as Slow Horses. It's made by the same people. It's by the same author who wrote that property, and it's Ruth Wilson and
Emma Thompson.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's a great show. I encourage you to watch it. It's really good. We have a season 2, which is exciting. Yeah, so does Nora. So we're super glad about that. And truthfully, but vote for her.
No, but it's a great show.
Will you be in the same category?
Yeah, probably, I think.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think there's no separate category for comedy versus drama in the
In the Emmys.
in the Emmys. So so we would be. So that's why it's like, just watch my show. It's really
Just
good.
watch it.
You'll love it.
Fun watch.
It's really good. And enjoy it, and then vote for Nora.
But we really, really appreciate today. And it was just like, Tara, a total pleasure talking to you and everybody. Like, thank you so much for being here. Like, it was just really fun for us.
And let us know how we can help with those awards. And I'm glad you're doing them this year. I think that's absolutely what you should be doing right out of the bat. That's perfect.
Yeah. And be radical. Be your radical self,
Yeah.
because that's what the world needs, please.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Love you.
both. I love you both so
Okay.
much.
We
Okay.
love you too. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Connor.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Connor.
Connor.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.